I'm sure you've had the same experiences as me. You sit through a binge watching session of videos on personal growth, productivity, or motivation, and it's kind of like you're just watching video after video, looking for that one answer that's gonna change your life. But it never comes, does it? The thing is, we will finally find that answer only if we make a simple shift in our focus. I've spent more than 10 years in sales and at least 15 years in some aspect of teaching or training, and I found myself stuck in the same downward spiral of personal growth consumption. But eventually I got so sick and tired of watching these videos and reading these books. Almost 10 years ago, I went on a binge to read every self-help book and watch every motivational video I could get my hands on. Soon I became a master of all the self-help cliches, but I still wasn't a master of myself. I'm sure at this point you can even regurgitate the same cliche advice we all seem to hear on repeat. Come on, let's do it together. I'm sure you can even say it with me. Want to be more motivated every day? Say affirmations every morning and make a vision board. Want to be more productive? Use the 5-minute rule or Pomodoro technique. Want to be more focused? Make sure you journal every day, exercise, and eat a healthy diet. And want to be happier in life? Make sure you associate with positive people. How many did you get? At least 2 out of 4? Then you've watched too many self-help videos or read too many self-help books too. But don't get me wrong, I do say affirmations every morning. I do have a vision board. I use productivity techniques, journal every day, exercise, and eat healthy. And I also make it a point to be mindful of who I'm spending the most time with in my life. But I submit to you that even if you implement everything I just said, even if you try every personal growth hack out there, even if you do what 99% of people who consume this type of content won't do, which is actually take action on many of these tips, you will still feel that deep hole in your life and still feel like you haven't found the answer you're looking for. And the reason is simple. It's because self-help makes us look inside while blinding us to what's outside. You see, decades of research have firmly established that excessive focus on ourselves is associated not only with depression, but also with feelings of negativity more generally. For example, imagine a gardener who suddenly becomes inspired to start planting all sorts of flowers and vegetables in their backyard. They want to become an expert at this, so they read tons of gardening books and watch gardening videos nonstop. They implement a little bit of what they learn each time, and each time they get a little bit better and better. They see so many perfect gardens out there, but their garden has more weeds than in the other videos. Their peppers aren't as green and their tomatoes aren't as red. Where there was once love in the tender act of planting their garden, there is now self-obsession and a feeling that they will just never be quite good enough. They're even spending so much time outside that their house itself is falling apart. But congratulations, they've successfully created their little self-help bubble. Often watching self-help videos or reading self-help books has this same effect. But it's not personal development in itself that's toxic. It's simply the mainstream approaches that are toxic. But there is an alternative. Mark Manson is, ironically, someone you might consider a personal growth guru who grew in popularity due to his sort of revolt against personal development content. He tells us in his well-known book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, that the reason personal growth content can be so toxic is because it's making us focus on goals that are literally unattainable. Constant confidence, having huge wealth, having stress-free, perfect relationships. In short, having constant, perfect happiness. But he's still falling short of a real solution here because all his work still focuses entirely on the self. In the end, we'll still end up like that gardener because we'll still be so focused on me, me, me. And you see, that's the real root of the problem. The solution is to move past the concepts of self-help and self-improvement entirely and instead think simply in terms of improvement. But what exactly does this mean? Well, while self-improvement focuses on things like our career, our finances, our communication skills, etc., all of which have the goal of resulting in some sort of happiness or life satisfaction for us, this is actually a very shallow idea, and here's why. Similar to the gardener, let's take a look at a different scenario. You find yourself watching a video on, say, career change, and you start to hear phrases like, follow your passion and find what excites you. These don't seem like bad ideas. So you take that advice, you work hard at finding a career you feel passionate about every day. In fact, you end up being one of the lucky ones who feels this way consistently. You now have everything you want and are happy. Meanwhile, your parents or children might be going through a personal crisis, your coworkers might feel ignored, and the neighborhood you're living in is starting to crumble around you. But it's all right. You can always move out and find another place that excites you and lights your fire. Congratulations. You have successfully built your own personal self-help bubble. Suddenly, you wake up one day and find yourself unhappy again. That spark has died. And gee, you wonder why. Do you see now what's wrong with the idea of self-help and self-improvement? It almost always has the effect of creating a sort of bubble that ignores the importance of anything outside of us. So how do we fix this? Well, of course we should have happiness in our life, but instead of having happiness as our end goal, let's think about happiness as kind of like a symptom or byproduct of what I've simply called improvement. And no, this is not just some word game I'm playing. You'll see why. For example, when you're thirsty, it's probably a sign that your body needs water. It stands to reason you should probably drink some water. When you do finally drink the water and finally don't feel thirsty anymore, it's a sign or symptom that your body is now properly hydrated. Let's be clear, hydrating your body was the goal. Do you see how it would be absurd to state that the goal of drinking the water was to satisfy your thirst? If this were true, there are actually pharmaceutical drugs out there that have the ability to take away the sensation of thirst. That would do it, right? But do you see how simply pursuing satisfying thirst itself would lead to disastrous consequences? And so that's what chasing happiness is like. Most of us chase it. We chase the feeling itself. We drink water for the purpose of satisfying our thirst rather than for the purpose of hydration. Some of us do end up finding happiness for a little bit, but the fact remains that we are all still extremely dehydrated. So remember how we said that self-help makes us look inside while blinding us to what's outside? Well, research also shows that if we start looking outside by asking questions like, how can I be of service? How can I contribute to others? And even more simply, how can I improve someone else's life today? We naturally become happier. I dare you to go and watch one self-help video out there and see if you can find any that discuss how doing this one simple thing improves your life. Some do, but on the whole, they don't. Most self-help advice is so extraordinarily unbalanced. It forces you to narrowly focus on your problems, your pain, your growth, all the while ignoring the fact that you are at least partially a product of and connected to everything else out there in the real world. Instead of acknowledging the world outside of you, you are treated like a world in yourself, and you're made to feel like the world revolves around you. But why not get outside a little bit more? Why not call up that friend who's having a hard time who you haven't connected with in a while? Why not strike up a conversation with your neighbor? Why not get out of your little self-help bubble? What, you're too afraid? Well, don't you see the exact problem with that? The pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of comfort. Back almost 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle taught his students about a thing called telos. Roughly translated, it means purpose. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the German philosopher Jürgen Habermas, shaken by what he witnessed in Nazi Germany during World War II, realized that the only way the individual can make progress in life is through interaction with others and through active engagement with the world around them. Try to avoid contributing to the world in some way, or try to pretend the world outside of us has nothing to do with us, and we will experience a greater and greater sense of meaninglessness. Looking back, the most meaningful periods of my life weren't those where I was intensely focused on self-improvement. Instead, they were times I was intensely focused on improvement. There were times when I was actively engaged with the world, contributing to something bigger than and outside of myself. The key then is to deeply explore our meaning in life and do the hard work of figuring out what that looks like for ourselves. If you want to dig deeper into this question to discover your own purpose and meaning, then you'll want to watch this next video.